You might have heard, if elected, Hillary Clinton would be the first woman president. But on the road to there, she's gotten a lot of not so constructive advice.
She shouts.
Hillary's always up here, and again, it's just not natural to her.
If she would just kind of lower the temperature.
She needs to come across as softer, gentler.
And then there is Donald Trump. Joining me to discuss it all are Andrea Cabral, former Public Safety Secretary and Suffolk County Sheriff. We should say Hillary Clinton supporter. Nice to see you, Andrea. Margery Eagan, co-host of the great Boston Public Radio on 89.7, 11 to 2. Margery, good to see you as well. So does all that cross the line, or is politics ain't beat bag? Does that cover that kind of stuff or no?
I don't think it covers that kind of stuff. And this is the second election cycle in which we've seen it. It's fine if what you're saying to one candidate is the same as what you're saying to another candidate, but that's simply not true. Her opponent in the Democratic race is someone whose voice kindly could be described as gravelly, and who shouts and who waves his hands all the time. You've not heard a single person talk about the way that Bernie Sanders speaks.
Before we leave, though, you said it's the second election cycle in a row. So should we believe that in 2008, when the then candidate Obama turned her and said she's likable enough, was that sexist too?
I don't know if that was sexist or personal, but there was a great deal, having worked on that campaign, there was a great deal of sexism in the 2008 campaign as well.
So is all that stuff sexism, or is politics just a tough business? Deal with it.
Oh, we haven't gotten to cankles yet. Remember that from the 2008 campaign when they were talking about cankles? But, you know, it is sexist, and there is absolutely a double standard. But I think the problem for Hillary Clinton is she wants to win. So you don't want to alienate people, and I got to say, I found it alienating, frankly, when Ted Kennedy did it. He was always bellowing and screaming. Like, why are you screaming at me? Why are you screaming at me? Last night, she didn't scream so much. I wonder if somebody's said tone it down, because when you hear her in a normal tone of voice, it's great. And I hate to say this, but it is true. I mean, I've said this to you before. It's one thing for the man to be the blowhard and the man to be the guy that talks all the time. If you're a woman, you can't do it. Is it sexist? Yes, but it's a reality, and she wants to win the race.
Isn't she?
A little,
no,
but I like her very much.
Yeah, let me give you a couple of examples. Yeah, it seems to me when I talk to you about this that almost everything is over the line. Let's pick an example of something that clearly is. This is Peggy Noonan in the Wall Street Journal. Her voice becomes loud, flat, and harassing to the ear. She lately reminds me of the landlady yelling up the stairs that your kids left your bikes in the hall again. I think we all agree that crosses the line. How about this one, though, that engendered a huge firestorm? Joe Scarborough, host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, tweeted after her huge election night a couple of weeks ago, "Smile, you just had a big day." People went nuts. Smile for Joe became the hashtag. That's sexist?
Yes, you know why? Because if you actually watched her, that's exactly what she did. It's perfectly acceptable for Donald Trump to not just tap into the anger or frustration that people feel, but to incite it. It's perfectly acceptable for Bernie Sanders on the left to be angry when he's talking, even in victory, angry in victory. But it's not okay for Hillary Clinton to say with passion and some level of, if you want to call it aggressiveness, I'm going to fight for you. These are the things that are important. Why? Because she's a woman and she ought to smile.
So is Joe Scarborough a sexist dog too?
Well,
not just for that. He's done other things.
I don't think that makes him a sexist dog. But here again is the problem. It's true. There is a different standard for women. It's true. But she's in a race with a guy who seems to have confounded everybody and done better than everybody thought. And by the way, if we talked as much about Hillary's hair as we talked about Donald Trump's hair during the race, we'd hear the kind of the opposite thing. People made fun of Mitt Romney the way he looked all the time when he was running for president. And I did think that when Barack Obama said, "You're likable enough, Hillary," that was the low point in my estimation of his campaign. I thought, why would he say that? But there's a double standard, and she's in a race to win. So you got to think about that. She's doing very badly among white working class men. I think she wants to get every single one of those men she can, and shouting at them is not going to help her.
Stay there just for a second. Forget the shouting. When she just mentioned the Donald Trump thing, since we have ridiculed the appearance of Donald Trump, all of us, not just us, the media in general, far more than Hillary Clinton, is it okay, since you say what's good for the goose is good for the whatever, can we ridicule the way she dresses, the way she looks? We're doing it to Trump.
I think that Donald Trump has carved out a special category for himself in the mockery. No, I'm very serious about this, because he has literally mocked and demeaned every
We're
single
gonna get
person.
there.
Right. He's not. I don't know that we talk about his hair as much if he wasn't so constantly denigrating to everyone else around him.
You know, but
it is though really a marvel of engineering. It's like the big dig.
It
I mean,
is.
how
The
does
head,
he
you mean?
how
The
does
hair.
he do it? I really want to know how he manages that
Can
every
I just say
day.
one thing?
Yes, quickly.
Saying that a woman has to temper what she does detracts from her being able to be her candidate. There's no more offensive candidate than Donald Trump, and no one has suggested that he ought not to be who he is. In fact, he gets.
What are you talking
No,
about?
what I'm
He
saying
is
is
criticized
what I'm
every
saying
single
is
minute.
what I'm saying is he gets credit for telling it like it
With
is.
some.
Right, and voters are
Okay,
voting for
forget
him
Trump
for that
a sec.
reason.
Can we stay on your candidate for a second? We're going to get to
Well, I'm
Trump in a
trying
minute.
to make the comparison between the
Well,
two.
we're going to make it in a second
Okay.
because your candidate, I would argue, tries to have it both ways. First of all, here's a poll that shows America is big time ready for a woman candidate, up 13 points in just 8 years. And here's the candidate herself, and then a major supporter of the candidate. Listen to what they have to say.
I think being the first woman president would be quite a change. I can't think of anything more of an outsider than electing the first woman president.
Just remember, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
Okay, so vote for me because I'm a woman, but don't treat me differently because I'm a woman. How can you have both those things, Andrea Cabral?
Because you're hearing it as sort of a broad statement of both, when in fact, vote for me because I'm a woman carries all of women's history with it. And essentially what's meant by that statement is know whose shoulders you stand on in 2016, young 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that put you in the position to experience less of what women older than you have experienced. That's what the special place in hell thing is. It's that you should never take voting for someone because she's a woman as a pejorative. It's something to be proud of. But yes, in fact, she ought not to be singled out for things that are particularly female and particularly gender-based when
Unless
she's
it
running
helps
for
her.
office. Not
Unless it helps her.
No.
Am I right about this, or is she right?
You just missed my point entirely.
I heard your point perfectly. Let's let her settle.
I think that one of the reasons that young women have been with Bernie Sanders and haven't been thinking about voting for women is because the women's movement has been very, very successul.
Right.
It's made so that young
First
women
woman
today
sheriff
do
sitting
not
right there.
have to. I was a affirmative action hire for the first woman columnist at the Boston Herald. So we all came through that kind of thing, and I think young women don't see it. But Gloria Steinem, who was ridiculed too for what she said something very true, which is when you're 25, you don't realize the discrimination you're going to face when you're a woman at 35 and 45 and 55, and how women begin to disappear as they get older. I think that's why a lot of older women resonate with Hillary Clinton, because they understand that lifetime of sexism that 25-year-olds don't get.
And that was the point. Thank you for saying it
You're
the way you
welcome.
said it. That was what I was trying to say to you. When she says it's important to be the first woman president and other women should care about that, it's because history, as women get older, means more to them. And Margery made the point
Believe it or not,
much better
I
than
understood it
I
the first
did.
time, and I understood it the second time. Now you're going to get your wish granted. You want Donald Trump? We're going to give you Donald Trump. Here he is.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell. You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
We want it where the women over there don't have to wear the you-know-what. Then I saw women interviewed. They said, we want to wear it. In fact, it's easier. You don't have to put up makeup. Look how beautiful everyone looks. Wouldn't it be easier? Wow.
She got schlonged. She lost.
Okay, so I assume on this one there's unanimity, this sexist as it comes. If he were here, and he's not, I assume what he would say is, you're three politically correct people, exactly what's wrong with this country. I'm speaking what I'm thinking. Don't hold it against him. Why is he wrong in that regard? He says he cherishes women.
The fact that I can't even answer that question because it is so patently obvious that he is wrong about everything, that he has sort of his frat boy mentality, that he doesn't hold women in any kind of high esteem. In fact, there was actually, I think it might have been in the Huffington Post, it might have been Politico, going back to an interview they did on Oprah, where he's sitting right next to Ivana Trump. This is back when he's married to her, that was wife number 1 or 2. And he says, she does, we get along fine because she does exactly what I tell her to do. There's some cheers in the audience, and he gives it one of these. Come on.
Only 23% of women voting in the Republican primaries view him very unfavorably. Doesn't that say something?
Well, it says that maybe they need to get in touch with their consciousness raising coach or something. But the thing is about Donald Trump and Megyn Kelly, my theory is, she intimidates him. He
Right.
can't
And
believe
he's attracted
that a
to her.
woman that's as good looking
And
as
he's
she is,
attracted
this
to her.
blonde goddess, bested him in the debate. He's
Right.
humiliated by her and he's afraid of her.
You two were supposed to argue, and you basically just buried me.
The only reason either one of us showed up was to do exactly that.
AC, it's good to see you. Margery Eagan, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you later.